Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine waking up, you've got your morning coffee, you sit down at your desk, and you realize you've successfully sold like 1,000 custom products this month.
I mean, you should be thrilled, right? That's the dream.
Exactly. You should be absolutely thrilled. But then you look at your bank account and, well, the math just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Because after paying for, your monthly cloud software subscriptions, the workshop's electricity, and the invisible wear and tear on your equipment,
Right.
you realize you didn't actually make a profit.
Right. You essentially paid your clients for the privilege of doing the work.
It's brutal. So today we are unpacking a piece of software called PolymagicPrice version 2.0.
Version 2, yeah.
And the mission for this deep dive is to explore how this software is attempting to completely shatter that trap that so many makers and freelancers fall into.
For sure.
We're talking about getting locked behind cloud-only paywalls just to access your own client data and, letting your entire financial reality balance on this precarious, messy spreadsheet that you barely even understand.
Yeah, that scenarios you just described, that's the classic creator's dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Because the tools that are supposed to facilitate your independence, they often become the very things that siphon away your margins.
Right.
You end up surrendering your data, your privacy, and like a literal cut of your monthly income just for the convenience of an organized workflow.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
This launch isn't simply giving the community a new 3D printing cost calculator. It is fundamentally an attempt to spark a no-cloud revolution.
Wow, okay.
So the software is a 100% free AGPL-v3 open source ecosystem, and it's designed to run entirely on your local machine.
No cloud at all.
None. The core philosophy driving the entire project is that you, the maker, must retain absolute ownership over your hardware, your artificial intelligence, and your data.
Okay. I have to challenge this setup right out of the gate, though.
Sure.
Because it sounds incredibly ideological. But if I'm a freelancer and I'm just trying to save time, why would I want to build this highly complex local infrastructure?
That's fair.
I mean, in the 3D printing world, for example, the standard advice for beginners is just to use the rule of 3. You take the cost of the plastic, multiply it by 3, and boom, that's your final price.
Right.
It's fast, it's easy, and you definitely don't need custom local software to do it.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the developers actually address that exact mindset in their documentation. They refer to it as the trap of the missing cent.
The missing cent.
Yeah, that rule of 3. It's basically a wild guess masquerading as a business strategy.
Harsh, but probably true.
Right. Well, human psychology naturally gravitates toward the tangible. When you purchase a spool of PLA plastic or a bottle of photopolymer resin, you hold that object in your hands.
You see the receipt.
Exactly. You see the receipt, so it's very straightforward to calculate the exact cost per gram. That represents your visible cost.
Right.
But the missing cent is the aggregate of all the invisible costs that quietly erode your profit margins over time.
Oh, I see. So pricing a 3D print based solely on the plastic consumed is like, well, it's like pricing a cross-country taxi ride based only on the gas in the tank.
That is a perfect parallel. Yes.
Because if you only charge the passenger for the fuel, you aren't collecting the money you're eventually going to need to, replace the tires, change the oil, pay for the driver's time, or heck, replace the engine when it finally dies.
Exactly. And the setup architecture of PolymagicPrice forces you to confront that reality immediately.
How so?
Before the software even allows you to look at a 3D model, you are required to establish 2 foundational fields: machine depreciation and labor rates.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So for depreciation, you input the original purchase price of your equipment and its expected lifespan in operating hours.
Okay.
The system then mechanically calculates the hourly cost of that machine simply existing.
Which means every single hour that printer is moving, it is effectively dying.
Yes.
It's 1 hour closer to needing a new extruder assembly or new core XY belts or just, being relegated to the scrap heap.
Right. And if your pricing model doesn't charge the client for that microscopic fraction of the machine's lifespan, you are subsidizing their project out of your own future capital.
That's a brutal reality check.
It is. And once you establish that depreciation, you have to add your local electricity rate, the actual dollars per kilowatt hour you pay your utility company, plus your own hourly labor rate.
Because your time isn't free.
Exactly. The documentation is very direct about this. Updating these baseline numbers monthly is exactly what separates running an expensive hobby from operating a real sustainable business.
Man, so once you account for the electricity, the time you spent slicing the digital file, and the literal degradation of the printer, that $10 profit you thought you made might actually be a $2 loss.
Yep. Happens all the time.
But, knowing those true costs is only half the battle, because the challenge then becomes applying that butts line to every single client request without spending 3 hours a day doing manual data entry.
Right, which nobody wants to do.
Exactly. So here's where it gets really interesting. The workflow engine in PolymagicPrice allows you to just drag and drop an STL file or a sliced.g code file directly into the interface.
Hmm.
And then the software parses the metadata to generate a branded professional PDF quote in under 60 seconds.
Under a minute. It's fast.
But let's look under the hood for a second.
Right.
When I drag a file into this app, what is the software actually reading to generate that quote so quickly?
It basically comes down to translating physical actions into raw data. A G-code file is essentially this massive text document containing thousands of coordinates.
Yep.
It tells the printer's motors exactly where to move in 3D space.
Right.
But it also contains what are called E-values, which dictate exactly how many millimeters of filament to push through the nozzle at any given moment.
Oh, interesting.
So the parser reads those extrusion commands, sums up the total length of the filament used, and multiplies it by the specific density of that material.
Like 1.24 grams per cubic centimeter for standard PLA.
Exactly.
So it isn't just guessing the weight based on the visual size of the model.
No, not at all.
It is calculating the exact physical mass of the plastic that will be melted down to the decimal point, and then applying your baseline financial math to that mass.
Right. And in a freelance environment, the speed of that conversion is your competitive advantage. The faster you can hand a professional, mathematically sound quote to a client, the higher your conversion rate will be.
Okay, that makes perfect sense for a standard filament printer, which is, a relatively clean process. You melt a string of plastic and you get a part.
Sure.
But resin printing is a completely different universe.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is a highly toxic, messy chemical process. You're dealing with liquid photopolymers, nitrile gloves, vats of cleaning alcohols, UV curing stations.
It's a lot.
Right. So how can a software parser account for a physical workflow that requires so many external, untrackable consumables?
Well, what's fascinating here is the developers recognize that standard FDM math just completely falls apart when applied to resin.
Yeah, it has to.
Which is why they built a dedicated resin mode. When a user toggles that mode, the software completely restructures its algorithmic approach.
Really? How so?
It introduces specific data fields for your post-processing workflow. So you have to input your wash and cure times, the estimated volume of isopropyl alcohol, the IPA you're consuming, to strip the excess liquid off the print.
Wow.
It even calculates the wear and tear on the FEP film.
Wait. It calculates the degradation of the clear plastic films sitting at the bottom of the resin vat.
It has to. Every time a resin layer cures, it briefly sticks to that film before the machine peels it away.
Right.
And that peeling action slowly destroys the film over thousands of layers. If you don't calculate the replacement cost of that film into your per layer quote, you fall right back into the trap of the missing cent.
The granularity there is just intense, but I imagine there are still unpredictable variables, right? Prints fail, filaments snap. The system has to have a way to buffer against the chaos of the real world.
Oh, it does. The parser gives you several manual levers to pull before generating that final PDF.
Like what?
Well, there's a standard markup slider to dictate your profit margins above cost.
Okay.
But more importantly, there is an overhead buffer. This lets you artificially inflate the material cost by a certain percentage to account for the statistical likelihood of a failed print.
That is so smart.
Yeah. And furthermore, while the parser natively supports standard formats like .gcode, .a3nf, and .cxdlp files,
The 3D printing software landscape is notorious for rapid, unannounced updates.
exactly, slicers update all the time. So if your slicing software releases an update tomorrow that breaks the parsing algorithm, PolymagicPrice allows for complete manual overrides of every single field.
So you're never locked out of your own coding process by a broken algorithm.
Never. It keeps the power firmly in your hands.
Okay, so once you send that quote and the client approves it, the project transitions into the software's order manager. The sources describe this as a Kanban board.
Yeah.
The classic visual columns where you drag a card from pending to active to completed.
Right, very standard.
Yeah, that visual flow is standard for manufacturing, but the feature that stands out as truly valuable for a small operation is the requirement logs hidden inside each specific order card.
Yeah, the requirement logs function as a localized customer relationship management system, or CRM,
Which is huge.
because small manufacturers often really struggle with maintaining continuity with repeat clients.
Yeah. Exactly the scenario I was thinking of. Let's say you design and print a custom dashboard mount for a client-specific car, right?
Sure.
And they come back 6 months later asking for a matching cup holder. With most disorganized shops, you'd be digging through old emails trying to figure out what material you even
Oh,
used.
yeah. Was it the matte black or the glossy?
Exactly. But with this system, you use the Notes audit trail to permanently attach the specific, say, RAL 9005 finish color code and the exact brand of ABS plastic you used directly to their customer profile on your local machine.
And creating that kind of localized permanent memory is really the foundation of building a reliable repeat clientele
Definitely.
because you appear highly professional when you never have to ask the client to remind you of their own preferences.
Yeah, but securing the order and knowing the color code, that's just the administrative side of the business. Managing the physical reality of a busy workshop and knowing if you can actually meet a promised deadline, that is a completely different beast.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, try to visualize the sheer chaos of a functioning shop floor. You have 5 printers running simultaneously, 3 others are torn apart on a workbench awaiting replacement parts.
It's stressful.
It is, and you have different spools of material loaded onto different machines. It is incredibly overwhelming to track manually.
Yeah.
The documents detail a print manager feature that acts like a live air traffic control tower for your workshop.
I love that analogy.
It displays machine cards that give you the real-time status of every printer, whether it's idle, printing, or in maintenance. It even features real-time progress bars for modern machines like Bamboo Lab printers. But wait, let me make sure I'm wrapping my head around this. Modern printers are notoriously cloud-tethered.
They are.
So if PolymagicPrice is strictly a no-cloud privacy-first system, how is it extracting real-time progress bars from a web-connected printer without exposing my network and sending data out to the wider internet?
Well, you're touching on the exact reason local networks are so much more secure than cloud infrastructure.
Okay, explain that.
The communication between PolymagicPrice and a device like a Bamboo Lab printer does not bounce off an external server. The software utilizes the printer's local IP address and a secure access code.
Oh, I see.
So it essentially pings the router sitting in your own office, asks the printer on the same network what it's doing, and retrieves the data entirely within the physical walls of your workspace.
So the data never actually hits the external internet. Your proprietary design files, your client's intellectual property, your machine firmware, it all remains entirely invisible to third-party servers.
Yes, that local barrier is the essence of digital sovereignty.
Wow.
And managing that air traffic control tower isn't just about watching green progress bars fill up. The developers heavily emphasize the critical importance of manually marking a print as failed in the software when something goes wrong on the floor.
Nobody likes doing that.
No, it is psychologically painful to click a button acknowledging a failure. But the system relies on that negative data to calculate your shop's actual efficiency rate over time.
Because if you ignore the failures, you're running your business in a fantasy world where every machine operates perfectly on the first try.
Exactly.
And acknowledging that reality leads directly into what the software calls the capacity planner. This is where the local data starts doing heavy lifting through simulations.
Yes.
Like if a client emails you requesting a 500-unit order to be delivered by next Friday, the standard reaction is panic, guessing, and probably pulling an all-nighter.
Definitely all-nighter.
But the capacity planner replaces that panic with objective simulation.
Right. And it calculates that simulation using an industrial manufacturing metric called OEE.
Which stands for?
Overall Equipment Effectiveness.
Okay.
And this is where that failure tracking pays off. If your logs show that your machines jam or failed 10% of the time.
You set your OEE to 90%.
Exactly. Then the capacity planner digests the individual print times, the total 500-unit quantity, your hard deadline, your operating shifts, and that 90% efficiency reality. It objectively outputs whether the job is feasible with your current hardware or if you physically just do not have enough hours in the week to deliver on time.
Man, it strips the emotion entirely out of the decision-making process.
Totally.
But taking that analytical power a step further, the launch introduced a feature that sounds almost like science fiction for a local desktop-bound application.
Oh, the AI?
A local AI assistant, because we are so used to AI requiring massive centralized supercomputers, but this ecosystem allows you to run it locally.
This is the synthesis of modern machine learning and total local sovereignty.
Right.
The software provides integration instructions for setting up a local Llama instance.
A llama.
Yeah, a Llama is essentially a framework that allows you to run large language models directly on your computer's own GPU, entirely offline. And PolymagicPrice translates your JSON database into a format this local model can comprehend.
So instead of exporting a spreadsheet and trying to read the trends yourself, you can literally type into a chat interface, am I running low on black PLA? Or which of my 5 machines generated the most profit this quarter? And the AI synthesizes the answer based purely on your actual shop floor data. And because the model is running physically on your graphics card, your client lists, your profit margins, and your internal business secrets never leave the room.
Exactly. It provides the analytical power of an enterprise-level consultant scaled down for the independent maker with zero privacy compromises.
That is incredible.
However, having an AI analyze your private data locally sounds incredibly empowering, but completely cutting the cord from the cloud introduces a terrifying new operational responsibility for the user.
Yeah, so what does this all mean? We really have to talk about the ultimate trade-off here. The freedom of local software comes with a massive, blinking warning light from the developers.
It does.
If we completely abandon the cloud, meaning there is no centralized server backing up our data, every night we're relying on the web browser's local storage to hold the entire architecture of the business.
Right.
Isn't that an incredibly dangerous foundation?
It is the single largest point of failure in a local-first web application, and the developers actually dedicate a significant portion of addressing this specific data loss risk.
Good, they should.
Because web browsers, whether you use Chrome, Firefox, Safari, they are fundamentally designed to manage your computer's memory resources.
Okay.
They do not distinguish between a cached image from a news website and your critical business database.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if your hard drive begins to reach its maximum capacity, the browser's automatic survival mechanism is to silently purge local cache to free up space.
So it's like writing your entire business ledger on a whiteboard in a crowded room, but the janitor has standing orders to wipe the board completely clean the second the room gets too full.
That's exactly it.
The browser could just spontaneously delete my entire client history, all of my custom resin profiles, and my pending order logs simply because I downloaded a massive video game and filled up my hard drive.
Yep. That is the reality of the architecture. If you rely solely on the browser's cache, your business is highly volatile. To survive in a sovereign system, you, the user, have to adopt the responsibilities of an IT administrator.
Which means?
The software includes a database manager specifically to mitigate this risk. Users must build a habit of clicking Export Database on a weekly, if not daily basis.
Which downloads the entire system into a single JSON file. And a JSON file is just a lightweight, standardized text format used to store structured data.
Correct. That single lightweight file holds the entirety of your business empire.
Yeah.
Your material costs, the granular machine depreciation rates, the active Kanban board, years of customer CRM history.
Everything.
Everything. So you save that file to an external hard drive or, an encrypted thumb drive.
Okay.
But the inherent beauty of this vulnerability, however, is the astonishing speed of recovery. If your computer suffers a catastrophic hardware failure or you simply purchase a new laptop, the downtime is almost non-existent.
Because you have the file.
Exactly. You don't have to re-download gigabytes of software, authenticate licenses, wait hours for a cloud sync. You simply open PolymagicPrice, hit import, select that one JSON file from your thumb drive, and your entire shop floor is back online exactly as you left it in milliseconds.
Wow. It forces you to take total ownership. You cannot outsource your security to a third party.
Nope.
And the project documents also highlight that this ecosystem is designed to pair seamlessly with other local offline tools.
Right.
They specifically mention Hunyuan 3D 2, which is a local AI model for generating 3D meshes from 2D images.
Yeah, that's a powerful integration.
When you connect these tools, you are truly building an entire manufacturing pipeline, from initial concept to 3D model generation, quoting, production tracking, and final profit analysis without a single byte of data ever transmitting across the internet.
It represents a profound philosophical shift in how we interact with digital tools.
It really does.
For the last decade, we've been conditioned to rent our capabilities from massive tech conglomerates. This open source ecosystem is proposing that you can and should own your capabilities outright.
It's a massive transformation journey. I mean, we started this deep dive looking at a frustrated maker drowning in messy spreadsheets and suffocating under cloud subscriptions.
Yeah.
And through the lens of PolymagicPrice version 2.0.0, we've explored the architecture of a completely private AI-powered manufacturing empire. But what makes this so compelling is that whether you are running a fleet of 3D printers or you're a freelance writer, a graphic designer, or a consultant, the core principles here are universally applicable.
100%.
Tracking your hidden depreciation, objectively understanding your equipment's actual efficiency through metrics like OEE, and fundamentally owning your own data. These are the absolute cornerstones of being in business for yourself.
The specific tools might be engineered for 3D printing, but the underlying philosophy of digital sovereignty is essential for anyone who creates value independently.
Absolutely. Now, if you want to dive deeper into the exact mathematical formulas behind their pricing algorithms, or explore the open source roadmaps and development logs we discussed today, you can find all of those resources at rpopetus.com/blogs, which is also where you can connect with their community of professional makers.
And as we wrap up this exploration of local first capability, there is a fascinating paradox left to consider.
Oh, let's hear it.
We've spent this entire discussion focusing on how to reclaim your independence from the cloud by utilizing local machine intelligence, right?
Right.
But if a local AI running privately on your desk can seamlessly calculate your machine depreciation, predict your operational failure rates, and determine your exact profit margins without ever touching the internet, at what point does your own software understand the true objective value of your time better than you do?
Oh, wow. That is a wild thought to walk away with. When you finally break free from the messy spreadsheets and the endless subscription models, you might just find that the most objective, brutally honest boss you've ever had is the artificial intelligence living quietly on your own hard drive.